All right. Uh, Dear professors, I think it's time, right? So I'll just start my sharing and my research results with you guys all. Okay. Okay. So if there's any problem, please let me know during the presentation. Okay. Our topic is about college students' bilingual education attitude. Okay, and I'm Luo Jianlin. Okay, I'm a lecturer in National Kaohsiung University of Science and Technology. Okay, and here are my co-author and also my professor, my director. Okay, yeah, he's from National Taiwan University. Okay, all right, let's start it. Okay, so our research problems is that first one, is there any gender attitude difference regarding bilingual education from students' perspectives? And the second one is what kind of correlation is between students' bilingual educational attitude and the students' TOEIC scores? Okay, so yeah, that's the main two problems that we want to figure it out. Okay, so the research background, first one is about the national bilingual education policy for 2030. I think that's all the all the nations concepts and also this consensus in the future, right? Yeah, we want our college students to learn English, not just learn English, we to learn everything, and we can just teach them and just ask them to apply it in English. Okay, so that's a kind of like bilingual country policy. Okay, so every teacher and every student just are trying to just to reach the goal, right? Okay, so that's the first background, and then is about the teachers and students' attitudes regarding bilingual education attitude. Okay, because it's not so far this not many researches about this discovery, so we want to do this. Okay, and the other one is about understanding students' attitude toward bilingual education. I think that's kind of important issues to know, right? Yeah, this could improve the quality of educational policy and the implementing strategies in the future. So before we move on, I think, yeah, we have to know what our students' attitudes are, okay? So number four is, are there different perspectives between male and female students regarding their attitude of bilingual education based on what Harvard study about girls schooling internationally. So that's one researcher, and that's in the literature review. Okay, so we are curious about, yeah, is it true that girls learn better or they can accept more changes than boys? Like this kind of perspectives. Okay, and so these are important issues to fine tune the bilingual education policy and the practice. So we hope we can offer some contribution to this issue for everyone who's concerned about this. Okay, so let's move on to the next page. All right, so let's talk about a little bit literature review. First one is about students gender different attitude. So Maruso in 2006 has found that girls enjoy reading more significantly than the boys. Moreover, students' learning interests are the key factor to improve students' language learning. And Martin in 2003 has also found that female students and male students act differently in language learning activities. And Paul in 1997 has confirmed that girls would show more positive attitudes to the adoptions of English norms compared with boys. And Maruso in 2007 mentioned that the girls and the boys' opinions differed greatly, especially in monolingual classes. So that's another research we found out. Okay. So the second one about students' BE attitude, bilingual education attitude versus TOEIC. That's the literature review, the second literature review, and talking about students' bilingual education attitude and the TOEIC score. Lee and his researchers and the study in their study about English proficiency and economic development in 2022 asserted that the country's language policy emphasizing English as an official language significantly influences people's English proficiency. So this is also the first issue this part is going to deal with, okay? And then we move on to market competitiveness and the choice score. So McCarty mentioned that, okay, pointed out that the standardized English examinations like TOEIC and TOEFL are treated as a kind of qualifications for people to receive a job with higher positions or salary. Thus, our research tries to find out the correlation between the two subjects to find out if it is corresponding to our students' ideas, okay? All right, so let's move on to the next one. Let's move on to the relation between students' preference for bilingual education and TOEIC score. In the research about students' perceptions and the satisfaction with the partial EMI program in 2022 by Boreas, and they did some research in one Spanish college where students have average B2 English proficiency, which is kind of higher than Taiwan's average, right? Okay, so show that students being more satisfied with bilingual education tend to have lower standardized English proficiency, while students reaching higher standardized English proficiency generate less satisfaction with bilingual education. But the reason is very interesting. That's because of the lecturers' low English proficiency in Spain. Okay, so maybe it's kind of common, or I don't know, maybe in Taiwan we will have this kind of problem or situation. Maybe we have to face it, okay? So this is a very different finding from our case due to students' different English proficiency. And I think yeah, in Taiwan, our students' average English proficiency is not that high. And also our teachers, maybe the English differences, the gap is quite big, or yeah, just pretty hard to just make them the same. Okay, but I mean, yeah, that's not maybe that's a thing we can find out, okay, in the future study, okay. So lastly, in measuring self-identity change related to English language learning and bilingual education among Chinese-speaking college students in 2017, Tom stated that students have better performance in bilingual education because they have higher English proficiency to focus on disciplinary knowledge instead of language difficulties faced by those students with lower English proficiency. Thus, the correlation between monolingual policy and the TOEIC score truly show a significant result in our research. So we'll find it out, okay, later. Okay, so let's move on to our research method one. Okay, so our research design, we conducted a survey research to figure out students' gender difference, bilingual education attitude, and the correlation between bilingual education attitude and the TOEIC score. And participants, there were 104 college students from the Technology University in south of Taiwan, which is my school, okay? And we used the self-designed bilingual education attitude questionnaire. There were several 5-point Likert scale questions to investigate students' bilingual education attitudes, including, is bilingual education beneficial to me? Can bilingual education improve my job market competitiveness? I like bilingual education, and I like Mandarin monolingual instruction. Okay, so yeah, we got five things to talk about. Okay, and here's the research structure. Just as I mentioned here, we got 5 factors to deal with, and the other two, the other side is about gender difference and the toy relationships. Okay, all right. So let's move on to next page. So let's move on to research method two. Yes, data collection. The questionnaire was created online as a Google form, and the link was mailed to students. So we collected the data from the Google form directly, and there were 104 valid samples collected, okay? And we used the t-test to analyze students' gender different attitude regarding bilingual education attitude. We used the Pearson correlation coefficient to assess the correlation between students' bilingual education attitude and their TOEIC score. And the R 4.2.2 was used as the statistics analysis tools. Okay, so the results and discussions. First one is bilingual education attitude versus gender. Okay, so first, both female and male students tended to agree bilingual education is beneficial to students. Okay, so the main numbers here 3.865. Okay, however, we use the t-test to evaluate if there is a gender difference regarding I like BE, I like bilingual education. Okay, and is beneficial to students. Okay, so there was no significant effect for gender difference, okay? And here's the statistics. Attending higher schools than men, okay, female, despite female attending higher schools than men, okay? And so our discussion is like this, okay? So students generally agree that bilingual education is beneficial to them since bilingual education has utility for increasing students' English competency and international competitiveness, as the Ministry of Education just mentioned in 2022. However, Harvard in 2002 has found that girls got more benefits from bilingual programs. And it might be caused by the fact that girls are good at language learning than boys, okay? And moreover, in Africa, students are taught in English or French, but not their mother tongue. Thus, bilingual education can benefit these rural children as well. However, there's no gender difference in our study regarding the agreement of bilingual education as beneficial to students or not, okay? So let's move on to next discussion. Second, both female and male students tended to agree bilingual education can improve their job market competitiveness. However, we used the t-test to evaluate, okay? And I think the result is the same, right? There was no significant effect for gender difference here. Okay, so our discussion is like that. It is clear that both male and female students agree bilingual education can improve their job market competitiveness because the international business is the biggest part of Taiwan's GDP, and English is the lingua franca and has widely been used in international job markets. Okay, so that's our explanation for this one. Okay, and let's move on to the third one. So we use t-test to evaluate if there's a gender difference regarding I like BE, I like bilingual education, okay? And the results show that female students tended to agree more on this issue than male students. Okay, now here are the statistics. So our discussion is like both female and the male students tend to like bilingual education in general. Although the mean is not high, okay, but Sai in 1997 has found that male students felt uneasier on English learning than girls. Okay, so maybe learning through bilingual education instead of all English can reduce the uneasy feeling of male students in our study. Okay, so maybe we should think about partial English. Okay, yeah, it's more like not 100% English. Okay, for most students it would be easy. Okay, so thus it could be possible to implement the bilingual education in these students, but some supporting measures and the incentive strategies may increase students' acceptance of bilingual education in the future. So we have to think about like male students, right? Yeah, they will have more troubles or difficulties about this. Okay. And then we move on to the last one, right? We use t-test to evaluate if there's a gender difference regarding I like Mandarin monolingual instruction, okay? And the results show that there was no gender difference on this part, okay? And our explanation is like this. Male and female students both tend to like the Mandarin monolingual instruction, but the degrees are not especially high. So like Maruso in 2007 has found that, right? Okay, has said that, okay, boys' attitude towards reading and writing were more negative than the girls' attitude in monolingual classes, like monotone classes, okay? So that is the preference of a Mandarin-based instruction is nature, okay? But even so, since the mean shows that only a little number of students are fond of Mandarin instruction, so still, it may not be too difficult to add the bilingual instruction in pedagogy. Okay, so still, of course, we use Chinese, so we prefer to use Chinese. But I mean, yeah, it's still a lot of students. Just few students think, oh, we should just stick to it. Okay, but more students will think that yeah, we should use bilingual in the future. That will be better for us. Okay. All right, and now let's move on to the other researches is about the attitude versus our TOEIC scores. Okay, so first one is a Pearson correlation coefficient was computed to assess the linear relationship between bilingual education is beneficial to students and the student's TOEIC score, but the result, the correlation, yeah, is no correlation between them. Okay, so our explanation is like that. Okay, no matter students' TOEIC scores are high or low, they tend to agree that bilingual education is beneficial to them because the utility function of bilingual education is obvious for majority students. Okay, just like Lee and his researchers mentioned in 2022 stated that, okay, countries with bilingual policies treating English as an official language truly improve people's English proficiency. Thus, bilingual education should be good for students as well as their TOEIC score to some aspect, okay? But maybe we need more study or research or experiments in the future, okay? All right, and the second one is a Pearson correlation coefficient was computed to assess the linear relationship between bilingual education can improve students' job market competitiveness and the students' TOEIC score. And still the same, there was no correlation between them, okay? But we got some explanation. The survey results showed no correlation between job market competitiveness and the TOEIC score because all English levels of students agree that English could be beneficial to their job opportunities. I think no one doubted, right? Risk result corresponding to what McCarthy once mentioned, that TOEIC or other standardized examinations are considered as a qualification for higher position or better paid jobs, okay, yeah, in his research, okay? And besides, Saw in 2022 thought that English medium instruction was regarded as a means of acquiring the linguistic capital and the global economy. Okay, so it's very interesting. While Lee in 2022 mentioned that English proficiency exerts a significant effect on economic development, but the effect is fully mediated by economic policies. Thus, there are different assumptions about the English competence and the national economic development, and a further exploring is needed. Okay, that's our conclusion. All right, and the third part about attitude and the choice. Let's go. A Pearson correlation coefficient was computed that says the linear relationship between I like BE, I like bilingual education policy, and student TOEIC score. And there was no correlation again. Okay, and our discussion is in this result, it seems that there's no correlation between students' bilingual education preference and their choice score, but barriers, just like we mentioned in 2022, found in the journal. Okay, yeah, those having higher satisfaction with bilingual education have lower standardized English proficiency, while students with higher standardized English proficiency felt less satisfied with bilingual education. However, since our students' average English proficiency is below B1, okay, and only a few students who have B2 English level can learn through English directly. These small sample students with higher TOEIC score in our study cannot change the mean of data to get negative correlation between TOEIC score and I like BE. Thus, there must be a different result in this case. Okay, so yeah, that's the thing we found out. Okay, and let's move on to the last one. So fourth, a Pearson correlation coefficient was computed to assess the linear relationship between I like Chinese monolingual education policy and the student's TOEIC score. And notably, there was some significant correlation between the two variables, okay? So the discussion is like students with higher TOEIC score have lower preference on Mandarin instructional policy, since these students have more language learning tools and do not like monolingual instructional policy. Learning through bilingual ways could provide more opportunities for students with higher TOEIC scores, okay? And similarly, Ton in 2017, okay, he mentioned that I point out that students performing better in bilingual education usually have better English proficiency to handle more disciplinary knowledge rather than language obstacles, okay? Therefore, either English or Mandarin is not a problem for students with higher English proficiency. They would like to learn knowledge more bilingually than monolingually, okay? Yeah, but on the other hand, which means, yeah, students with lower I think that would depends. Yeah, it would depend on what schools you teach. Okay, what students you have. Okay, the basic English level. I think that's pretty. Yeah, the biggest problem is about this. Okay, and then this is our conclusion and implication. Okay, so first thing students tend to agree with the bilingual education policy in general, and bilingual education could be a possible policy for University of Science and Technology. That's for sure. Okay, I think our students need that. Okay, and second, the female students have a slight higher support on the bilingual education policy. Thus, the faculty should be aware that male students have lower learning motivation and need the relevant supporting measures to facilitate them, and which is the case in my school. We got more boys than girls, a lot more. Okay, so the third one, students have positive attitude toward bilingual education and believe that bilingual education could benefit their job market competitiveness and be beneficial to them, providing the rationale for implementing bilingual education in the future. Okay, so the last one is, since it's a preliminary study with a small sample, we suggest a further study on random sampling with a mass sample on the students' bilingual education attitude research to get a more general research results for wider application. Okay, all right, and here are my references. Okay, all right. And thank you very much. Thanks for your listening. Okay. Thank you. If you have any question, please just let me know. Okay. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.